invocation will be provided by Eastview Baptist Church Pastor Shane Lawson. Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Daniel Beatty. Please stand.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today with humble hearts, seeking your guidance and wisdom as the County Commission convenes. Lord, today I pray that you grant all the commissioners discernment in making decisions that benefit all the residents of Bradley County, Lord, that will uphold justice and promote harmony within our community. And may your light, Lord, illuminate their minds and inspire them to govern with integrity and even compassion. Lord, bless this meeting, we pray, in cooperation and understanding and in unity so that the outcomes may reflect your will and the service to this community. And Lord, we'll give you the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll now go get receive the report from the county mayor, Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to report unless someone has something for me. It's all about the budget.
Anyone have anything for the mayor?
Thank you.
We'll now go to reports from the committees and our districts. We'll start on our right with Commissioner Beatty, please.
Everything's doing well in First District.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize Bradley County Planning Commissioner Chairman Richard Burnett.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Commissioner Hughes, for allowing me to have a quick question of the commission, if I could, please. I'm Richard Burnett. My address is 5150 Dalton Pike, here in Cleveland, 6th District, Constable, and Senior Vice President Andrew Johnson Bank. I have a question. We have evidently coming back to the Planning Commission a request to rezone or review the rezoning request on a scrapyard. And I have a question as to, we had already reviewed this. Nothing has changed with the property as it is, and why is it coming back to us? That's the question I have for the commission.
Who wants to try to go ahead, Commissioner Blake?
Guys, well, I made the motion to send it back, and it was based off of information I received that a second, excuse me, a second application had been submitted to, I guess, Mr. Wilson. I don't know how it gets to eventually the Planning Commission, but that was, and we thought, well, the second application has been submitted. One would think there's different information for you guys to consider, but it was always with the intent that if nothing happens with that second application with respect to what the Planning Commission decides to do, then we would come back and authorize Ms. Freiberg to proceed. So it was basically to give the last chance for this application process to be heard. But if I understand you correctly, a second ago, the applications are identical. That doesn't make any sense to me.
We have looked at the original application for a scrapyard rezoning, and then we understand it was brought up as a recycling only, which is not correct. If you go there, I would hope that each of you have driven by there. It is actually a scrap yard where they have cars and things. A recycling center, as given to me earlier here, is an establishment, place of business, facility, or building that is maintained, operated, or used for storing, keeping, buying, selling of computers or parts, newspaper, used food or beverage containers for the purpose of converting those things. That's not what's going on in that. They're doing scrapping cars and things like that. And I appreciate the effort they were doing to help clean our community up. But as a planning commission, we're looking at this as it's not a recycling unit, it's a scrap yard, and there's requirements and restrictions Nothing has changed on that order, so I'm just confused as to why it's coming back to us.
That's the reason why is that there was a second application that was, we didn't have any details on it.
Okay.
I guess we shouldn't make assumptions, but assumption was made that there's pertinent information that planning commission should, look into. That was pretty much it. And not to overdo it or anything, but just to let the planning commission take a look at that second application. I understand all the things you just said, and, you know, that's why you guys do what you do for us, is to look at all the details, the fine print and stuff like that. But to answer your question, if I am, it was to give the second application its day in front of the planning commission. That was it.
Commissioner Thompson, then Commissioner Slater. Oh, Commissioner Slater, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Burnett. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
I think one of the reasons that I was interested in it going back is because Mr. Wilson stood where you're standing today and said specifically that it was a recycling center, not a scrapyard. So Mr. Wilson is telling us one thing, and the Planning Commission is telling us something else. So that's the confusion that I would like cleared up. Is it a recycling center based off what the county planner stood right there and told us, or is it actually a junkyard?
From my perspective, from going by there, and I've been by there several times, just observing the operation to see what it is. I did that before we even voted. I'm an old school guy. I like to go look at things myself rather than have someone tell me what they are. And as when I went by there, there was some, I call them rollbacks or wreckers or whatever with cars on there, and they were cubing them up, squaring them up in the big thing that crushes them, and shipping them out, that's a great operation, but it's not per the zoning requirements.
But that's not the information that Mr. Wilson provided us at the
I
meeting.
understand that, but I'm telling you about what I know,
Yeah.
Commissioner. That's all I can go by. And I wasn't here when Mr. Wilson said that, so
Okay.
apologize for confusion from the committee's part.
Mr. Thompson, please.
I get permits every year from fireworks, from the same place that they get a state permit from. And when I get that permit, I've got to follow the rules and regulations, the distance from gas, the distance from whatever. You just got to, there's rules there that you got to follow. Well, according to this, and I don't know if it's a planning commission's fault or who it is, but something is not right here. When you're not in compliance, if you've got a permit or whatever you got, and you're not in compliance, why, that permit's no good. If you don't, they could shut you down or whatever it takes to get you in compliance. But according to the Planning Commission, if he had a recycling center, it's a lot different than a junkyard.
That's correct.
Recycling cars or whatever. And they've got a crusher here that they do crush cars, whatever, or what it comes in that they have to crush, what they do, but I know they do cars and things. So if they're not in compliance, then they need to get in compliance. And if they can't follow the rules, then they don't need to be there. But you must be in compliance with their planning, and I understand that our planning commission is going to have to straighten up. We're going to have to get our ducks in a row if we're going to enforce the rules.
Commissioner Thompson, we're not the enforcement.
That's
All
right.
we can do is
Absolutely.
approve or deny.
Right.
We're not the enforcement, and when we declined the rezoning, we denied the rezoning, we let them know that they were not in compliance
In
at that time.
compliance, right.
And that's the reason it came back to you guys for your vote. And when it comes to us, unless someone has some differing information that I don't know of, it's gonna come right back to you again.
Well, I understand he'd been saying he was a recycling yard there, but it is a junkyard, and we know that. And there's several rules that comply to that. If you're going to be a junkyard, you got to follow those rules.
That's correct.
And so, if it's going back to the planning commission, and it's the same thing it was before, why we're just not, and they're not in compliance at this point, then the planning commission, if they turn it down, then this commission needs to listen to that. But they need to be right when they get up here and tell us something,
That's correct.
and make sure that we understand what they're saying. Then maybe we can get a vote that would be right. So I'm just saying that there's something wrong somewhere, that if you got to have 25 acres or whatever, and he's got 3.5 acres, he's not in compliance. And there's just several things like that. If he's crushing vehicles and he's supposed to be a recycle thing, he's not in compliance. So if the planning commission turns it down and gives us the specs on it of what needs to be done and what has to be done before he can become a junkyard, and I don't have anything against anybody, what they want to do, as long as they're in compliance with what it takes to do that.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got.
Commissioner Rogers, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Burnett, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
I think the confusion for me was when Mr. Wilson stood up here and told us that it wasn't a junkyard either, that it was a recycling center. And that when we looked at the rezoning application that this gentleman put through, that it says the intended use of the property was a recycling yard of any and all types of metals. We do not sell parts. We are not a junkyard. We're here to clean up our community and be a recycling center. And then Mr. Wilson also stood there and said as well that they needed to look, they being the planning commission, needed to look at the ordinances around recycling centers to make sure that they were correct. And I know when it first came to us, after you guys voted to deny it the first time, it came to us as a scrapyard. And that would be clear. And we asked the reasoning why that it was denied was because of the 25-acre permitted use that it has to have.
That's one of the reasons, yes.
And when Commissioner Slater asked Mr. Wilson, how much land, how much area do you need to have to be a recycling center, I think his words were 100 square feet. And so if that's what it is, and it is a recycling center based on what Mr. Wilson is saying, but the Planning Commission is saying something else, I think there's just mass confusion of exactly what is this business, what is this property, because they do have a state license from the state of Tennessee to operate, I believe. And so I think there just needs to be some clarity on whether we need to look at, you were saying, you brought up Section 57, the recycling collection centers.
Yes.
If there needs to be some adjustments to that, if we need to go through and look at 24 on the backside of the zoning resolution, talking about and add things to it, because there's not under the recycling center, there isn't an acreage there. There is nothing that states that you need to have 10 acres to be a recycling center, or 8, or however many it is. And I think that if there was some clarity for all of us to understand exactly what the zoning resolution in this matter entails and intends, I have no, if it comes back and it's correct, I have no reason to vote against it, against what you guys say. But at this point in time, when one group of people is saying one thing, and then you have the county planner saying a different thing, I think that's where the confusion ensued. And so for me, personally, for my request is I just would like to have some more clarity and answers from the Planning Commission as a whole, whether that's a vote to change the resolution or to clean it up a little bit, or saying, no, this is how we're going to keep it. And it is not a recycling center. It is a scrapyard, and make sure that is being told, because based on his new application, his statement is that it is a recycling center. And
I think where the confusion may be, Commissioner Rogers, is a lot of people think when you crush cars or appliances or metals or whatever, cans or whatever, you're recycling that. Well, that's not correct. That's a scrap yard. It's not even a junkyard. We don't, junkyard is something entirely different. They usually sell parts and sell cars off of that. but a scrap yard does just that. It scraps those materials. And if you look on that 24 Part C says mechanical processing of recyclable materials is prohibited on this site.
Mhm.
Well, we know that's not correct. Even Commissioner Thompson mentioned that of crushing cars. That would not be able to do that if it was true a recycling center plus what the materials you can accept as a recycling. I would love to see us have a true recycling center in the county myself. To my knowledge, we don't have one, unless someone can correct me on that. But I would love to have one, and if he wants to make that a true recycling center and shows that it is, and present a rezoning, request for that as a true recycling center, it would qualify if he did that where it talks about the materials he can accept.
If
Yeah.
and just a question for clarity, and I might need to point this to the county planner as well. If this gentleman or any person
Sure.
was to say take washing machines and break them down by hand, or if they were to take old computers and break them down by hand and not using machinery, would they be in compliance?
They would be on the computers, but not the washing machines,
In the fact of,
because it lists the things you can accept on 57.
okay.
If you read 57, it goes through. I won't read it again, but it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
And so that's one of my things is that so if you have anything metal that's non-computers, right? Like, so a washing machine or anything,
Sure.
that's not considered recycling.
That's correct. According to how this is written, that's correct.
Okay.
I hope
Thank
that helps clarify.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Winters, then.
Thank you for coming. Your committee has a lot of responsibility here, and thank you for what you do. It's not our intention to micromanage what you do. You all asked for us to approve a cease and desist order, and obviously that's shutting this down. And from that came this dialogue. So I know you'll work on the fine tuning of this, but is that still in place from your board?
That actually would come through Mr. Wilson and through the county attorney.
Right.
We knew that had been done, but we did not have a vote on that one
Right.
where well, I can't speak to that. I think it would have passed.
Right.
Given the fact that it is a scrap yard in our opinion
Right.
and our
Right.
look at it,
Right.
then I would say we would probably, and
So
this
you
is
were-
all speculation, obviously,
All right.
that we would say, yes, that the
You were-
cease and desist order would be in.
Right. Well, obviously, they wouldn't have moved forward without feeling that was your
Yes.
but, so you think that's still in order?
I do personally, yes.
Commissioner Hughes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we have some photos of the site to help people understand exactly what we're looking at, because we can talk about it, but sometimes it's best to just take their own words and go from there. I don't know if you can read that, but the name of the business is the Scrap Yard. It's hard to make that into a recycle center. And that's all cars. That's not paper. It's not things that are being recycled. That's all cars.
Are those houses directly in front of
That is houses, and I'll be quite honest with you. I know it was said that day that there was never any complaints. I was called with people that own property around that scrapyard that had complaints about it. One, in fact, went into detail about how he had lost quite a bit of money off from it because he was going to put an apartment complex there. And the gentleman that was going in business with him walked over and looked at it and said, not no, but then we'll go from there.
Commissioner Hughes, may I say something there?
Yes.
In regards to those houses, on 9B on your handout that you have there, you'll see that there's no closer than 300 feet. Now, I'm not sure, but the one that's angled this way, about halfway in the middle of the picture, appears to be a lot closer than 300 feet to those scrap items there. And I'm not sure that may be the gentleman that runs the scrapyard's residence. I don't know. But it still says within 300 feet, and I do believe that's a lot closer than 300 feet.
Mr. Thompson, please.
Richard, On the left side of this property here, is that the part that Thomas Williams owns?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. They said there'd never been a complaint. Thomas Williams said he came here and complained it to the mayor. I'll let the mayor, if he wants to say something to that, but that, they said there'd never been no complaints, but anyway, that was one of the complaints that I know that he told me, face to face, that he did come and complain about it, so.
Anyone else have any questions for Richard? Sir, we appreciate your
Thank you for
comments
your
and
time. I appreciate your
participation.
help.
Please get with the county planner and let's get on the same sheet.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you all.
All right, we were with Commissioner Hughes at the time.
Mr. Chairman, I was in this was saying the resolution that was trying to be passed was the next step to what was the next step we had in zoning. It was the only step left. I think the chairman, Mr. Burnett, was trying to mention that we, as a planning commission, I don't know what they're going to be discussing if there's no changes. It was the reason I asked that question that day. Has there been any changes? And the answer was no. With that, I am done.
Okay. We'll go now to Commissioner Alford.
Second district's doing well, sir.
Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last week and reviewed the mayor's budget proposal and final budget amendments. We have minimal changes to the mayor's proposal this year. We discussed a slightly increase to the beer board compensation. Rather than including it in the Finance Committee budget proposal, we will submit a resolution and amendment in July to increase their compensation and amend the budget. We included our proposal of $1,000 increase the county commission budget as a result of employee receiving the certified county financial officer certification. We removed $3,850 from the trustees' budget and agreed to cover the needed expense in the art funds of the same amount. Mr. Chairman, I placed on the June 17th, 2024 voting session agenda a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023-2024 final budget amendments and a motion to approve the Finance Committee's recommendation budget document. So there'll be two different motions.
So done.
Final budget amendments and the finance recommendation.
Is that
Also,
all? Go ahead.
Also, Mr. Chairman, we moved the July 1 to June 28th at noon in order to have the budget approved prior to July 1, 2024. I placed on the June 28th voting session agenda a resolution fixing the tax levy for Bradley County, Tennessee for fiscal year starting July 1, 2024. Also, I placed on the June 28th voting session agenda a resolution making appropriations for various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Bradley County, Tennessee for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending in June 30th, 2025. Also, I placed on the June 28th voting session agenda resolution fixing the fire tax levy of the county fire districts for Bradley County for fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2024, ending on June 30th, 2025. Also, on the June 28th voting session, I placed a resolution making appropriations to nonprofit charitable organizations of Bradley County, Tennessee for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. And that will fulfill our obligation to set the tax rate and pass a balanced budget. Other than that, all's well in the third district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Just a second. Go ahead,
Island.
Sir.
Commissioner Island. I asked you before, I believe, if we couldn't take the animal shelter out and vote on it separate in the budget. Can we do that?
I apologize. Can you say that again for me?
The animal shelter,
Oh,
I asked if it could be took out of the budget and voted on separately.
I believe you would have to make a motion to do just that one. I make the motion and get a second, and is that right, Mr. Chair? Or if he wants to change one particular account. I believe a substitute motion.
I'm requesting that as a commissioner, that you take that out of there and vote on it separately. Now, can I do that or not, or do you have to vote on it?
I'm presenting the finance recommendation that was the 5-0. I'm not able to change what they voted on. So they voted a package that included that. I believe, and Lori or someone else can correct me if I'm wrong. They voted, the finance committee voted 5-0 for this recommendation to the full commission. I can't just on my own change anything, but I believe you obviously can make a substitute motion after a motion's been made and seconded to do whatever you want.
Well, I'll do that then. I can always.
But you understand, finance made a recommendation 5-0. Commissioner Winters, Commissioner Slater, Commissioner Mason, and Commissioner Alford. I don't think they'd be too happy if I all of a sudden change things.
Well, I'm really upset. I had a constituent out my way that called over there the other day, had 3 kittens, and he said, I'll bring them over to you. And they said, we can't take them. And they wouldn't take them. Now, I'm tired of paying $250,000 or what we're going to pay this year for a service, and we're not getting no service out of it at all. We're not getting no animal control. All we're getting is if you got something that you want to take over there and you can, why, I'm sure that, well, at this point, why they wouldn't even take those. So we're not getting anything out of them.
Commissioner Thompson, Mayor, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what was in the mayor's proposal is adhering to the contract that we agreed to. So I think it's a contractual thing that we would have to look at as well if we changed anything. But Mayor, I don't know, what you put in there is per the contract.
Right.
Well, it looks to me like when this contract up, we need to look at something else. Because if we're not going to take animals, if you got animals out there and want to take them over there, they're supposed to accept them. I thought that's part of the contract. Well, I don't care if they ain't got room. Why? They know how to make room.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, are we not under a 4-year contract with the SPCA?
3 more years.
3 more years. Thank you.
Anybody else? We'll now move to Commissioner. Go ahead.
The contract states that either party has 90 days to notify the other party. So what Mr. Thompson's talking about is taking that one part out of it. If you don't like that one part, you vote against the whole budget. Is that what you're saying? You vote no on the whole budget?
Well, we can't do anything anyway.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I would suggest, since we have a contract, that you approve the budget with that in there. If you have 8 votes to cancel the contract then after that, and that passes with 8 votes, then we'll cancel the contract, but don't let it interfere with the budget process at this point. But I'm telling you, getting a complaint when they're full versus not having anything to do for a shelter, you're going to find out what it's really like. We did that once, and we got more calls than we've ever gotten on anything when we had no shelter. Right now, we have a shelter that's lacking in space because they've not been able to build like they planned, and they're still working on it. But again, if you've got 8 votes to cancel the contract, you can cancel it at that time. You're going to have, as he said, 90 days, I assume is correct. 90 days goes into the new budget. But if you want to put them on notice with 8 votes that you want to cancel the contract, we still need the budget for July 1st. So approve the budget, get your 8 votes if you got them, and then cancel the contract if you'd like.
Is that all right?
Yeah, I understand that, and I appreciate that answer. But I think that this is something we need to look at, because I don't think we're getting our money's worth, I'll put it that way, out of what we got over there now. So, but we'll do what we have to do until it comes to either getting out of the contract or their contract is up.
Okay, we'll move along to Commissioner Collins, please.
Thank you. All is well in the third. I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Commissioner Winters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have current information to share. There is dialogue between the county, the mayor's office and us with Cleveland State to look at the scholarship program for EMS to be expanded. And it's an ongoing discussion at this point, and we'll have hopefully good news to share within the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert, please.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Thompson.
I've said enough.
Commissioner Goins.
Fifth District's doing well except for Inman Street. That's all I have.
Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report today.
Commissioner Mason.
All's well in the sixth. Thank you.
Commissioner Ledford.
All's well in the sixth. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The EMS committee met last week and were updated on all the things EMS. Through May, the department has collected $5,339,500, which is well over their $4.5 million projection on the year. The department reported a number of equipment upgrades, with more coming in the 24-25 budget. So I hope you will please vote on the budget, including a transport vent machine, Lucas devices for CPR compressions, new slide boards, trauma bags, new computers, a new commander vehicle, a repaired trailer, and a new 1,000-gallon gas tank at the Paul Huff Station. We also learned ARP funds are earmarked for a new ambulance in 2025. The staffing is currently good at the department, with hopes to unfreeze a position or two in future budgets. The committee encouraged Interim Director Lewis to undertake a salary study to assess our competitiveness in the industry. As Mr. Commissioner Winters just mentioned, Bradley County has partnered with Cleveland State a few years ago to provide education to some of our employees desirous of earning their paramedic rank. And we are currently in talks of negotiating that, and I do appreciate, after that meeting, speaking with Commissioner Winters and him kind of spearheading that for us. The committee also encouraged Director Lewis to undertake a study considering the establishment of a nominal non-emergency fee. The meeting, while lengthy, was very productive. Thanks to Director Lewis for his willingness to step in and for his efforts to improve the department on his watch. We appreciate you, appreciate your staff, which I think was probably one of the largest staff meetings and EMS committee meetings we've had. I think there's probably about 17 or 18 people from EMS there. So, and I appreciate all of you who were at that meeting as well. With that, Mr. Chairman, that is all I have today.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to the agenda items. Agenda item A, Commissioner Milam Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Per the budget calendar, today is the time for elected officials and or department heads to appeal the finance recommendations. So at this time, if you would recognize any elected official or department head who wishes to appeal, that would be per the budget calendar.
Is there anyone here that would like to appeal the budget? Yes, please. Step up to the microphone. Give your name, please.
I'm Carol Croney, and I'm with the State of Tennessee Vocational Rehabilitation. We have the TRC, and I want to appeal your decision and want you to rethink, because I'm going to tell you some things that when we got that, I was shocked, because in the 3 years that I have been over that center, we have grown exponentially. And first of all, let me say to you all, thank you for your support. I work 24 counties in the state of Tennessee. I'm over those counties. And I will tell you, I have used Bradley County as a shining example all over the place. And I'm going to give you a reason why I do that. Because of the support of not only of you all, but of organizations here that has helped us serve those underserved populations, including those with disabilities. And I'm going to tell you how we've done that in the 3 years since coming out of COVID. You know, we transformed, for sure. We had to transform after COVID. And the support that we came into that center, we knew we had to think differently. We were going to have to partner with local organizations and make this work for our folks that have those disabilities. And that's what we've done. I think some of our successes, and probably you don't even know this, due to the success here in Bradley County, we have now been able to open one in Hamilton County. They actually came up here, saw what we were doing here, and said, look, we need one in Hamilton County that can serve Hamilton County and those little towns and counties that are up north. And that made me proud because of the support that you all have given us, not only you all, but the churches in the community. Some of the successes that we've had, and I want to go over this because I think it's important. And you, right now, I have 12 young folks in that center for a community summer camp. These are young folks that have disabilities. We have this state trooper there with his big semi, letting these young folks experience things that others experience, but if it wasn't for us, it probably wouldn't be happening. Not only that, we have over 300 people that we serve out of that center. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're dealing with people with disabilities, that is quite a few people. We've also partnered with City Fields, and they're here with us today. We've partnered with them on some things that I think are innovative. One of them has been our foster youth program. We just graduated 10 foster youth that are going to be leaving out of the foster youth care program. Now, we all know when they leave foster youth that a lot of times they're just out there. They have no support. They have not the tools to be successful in life. And due to that program and our partnership with City Fields, we were able to do that, and we'll continue to partner with City Fields. We also have a partnership with them where we do the forklift training there. That's not only provided to those with disabilities, but for the community, because we went to employers, we said, what is it, some of the things that you might need. We're also in talks with Cleveland State as well. They're on our board. We're looking at a construction program to put in the back of that building. There's a lot of things. And again, I want to say thank you for all the support all these years. But to cut us completely out of your budget, I wish that, that you would reconsider, because what that does, what you give us, and let me read this to you. The Bradley County helps provide services in the community, but the 30% that we ask you of our budget allows us to draw 70% federal funds. So if there's no dollars there for us, there's not going to be any federal dollars as well. So are we going to quit and go home? No, but it's so much more easier if we have that community support. And like I said, we run these summer camps. I wish y'all would drop by at some point in time just to say, we want to see what's going on over here. I know Mayor Davis has given these kids a tour of the courthouse here. I know that we go around to the community, but there's one thing in order to stretch our dollars. Another thing that I'd like to say that we've done, we have looked at merging our what we call our business service unit with us, the community service unit. And what that allows for us to do is to work more closely, hand in hand, getting these young folks jobs, not only summer jobs, because we do that, but we also help them get long-term jobs. We help them go to college. We help them with transportation. These are all the dollars that I know some of you are wondering, well, what in the heck is that money going for? Well, I can tell you, it takes a lot of money to staff people. It takes a lot of money to serve people. But I did want to ask you all to reconsider, because you have been, like I said, a shining example. Due to your example, I was able to open that facility, that office there in Hamilton County to serve, just like what's happening here in Cleveland. And our foster care and our individuals with disabilities and just our community, it's important that they get the services that they need.
Commissioner Slater, please.
Mayor, is that page 62?
Yes.
Page, I don't know what to say. Page 62 has the same figure in there it had this year, this current year.
I've got an email Friday afternoon. That's why I'm here, Mayor Davis.
So
Zero on it, and I got concerned.
Right, if I may, Commissioner Slater, so I think it is page 62, 104,876,000 is what you were budgeted in the current budget?
Yes,
And in the Finance Committee proposal, it has 0.
yes.
I think that's just a typo. And I hate that we had a
Well, I
typo.
tell you what, I
Is-
flew
what
over
hap-
here from Putnam County,
So-
Tennessee, because that's where I was supposed to be at today. I wasn't going
I
to go
apologize.
down
I
without
apologize.
advocating for my customers.
Please accept my sincere apology. What happened in
No.
Finance Committee is that we basically, the two edits that I talked about a few moments ago with respects to the county commission account and the beer board account are the only two adjustments we made. Everything else, we accepted the mayor's proposal.
Well, I had the paper here and it said 0, and I was, I knew that Bradley County has always supported us and like I said, is this shining example, and you are setting the example.
So Commissioner Blake, the Finance Committee proposed budget is 104,000. All of the final columns are 0 throughout the budget because the budget hasn't been approved.
This is the Finance Committee's recommendation.
And it's the number that is $104,000.
Look at it.
If you look at the old budget that we received from the mayor's proposal budget,
in there.
It's a 0 under finance
Right.
because it should be. And then
And-
if you get the new one, it shows 104,876.
Cindy, if I could finish, that's where I was going. In my proposal, the numbers are only under my column. There's nothing under finance. In your new book, correct me, Caleb, if I'm wrong, in your new book, those numbers are carried over to Finance Committee.
Correct.
So it is budgeted, it's the bottom line.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to drive here. A call would have got
Well-
it clarified, but this is the first I've heard about it, so I didn't know.
It's no problem. It gives me a chance to brag on our center over there and what we get to do, and so now you know. And I would invite, we're having these kids over there this week. If you get a chance, drop by. We're there with them. We usually have them out in the community looking at things. Come by and see us. We'd love to talk to you about what we do.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Yes, ma'am. Where's this located at?
Overlook Drive.
Give me,
The TRC building on Overlook Drive there.
okay, I'm just trying. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
I can give you I just always know what, put it in my GPS Overlook Drive, because I've drove it so much I don't even think about it.
We
But
we
I wanna
appreciate
thank
your
you.
kind words, and we'll try our best to come by and visit.
Please do.
All right.
We encourage you to, and I thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
We're thrilled you made a visit to Cleveland for 104th. Great. Someone didn't understand the process that sent you the email. I'm sorry. All right. Anyone else from the audience that would like to? Yes, please.
Hello, how are y'all? I'm Donna Simpson, County Clerk, and I am here to ask you about our medical insurance line. It's 207, and we were sent the amount of the medical insurance this year, which is a new process. Usually it's just not known yet, so, but I was given the amount and we requested it for 30, I have 30 employees, counting myself, 29 plus the elected official. And the funding is for 27, it looks like. So I was wondering if we could adjust that to the proper amount of 30 employees. That's really my only.
Mylan, can you comment on that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, You had 20, the same, basically, it should have been a carryover with a new amount per employee, right? You had the same amount, you haven't increased your number of employees.
No, last year,
In the
my
current-
letter of agreement was for
Right,
29
we
employees
looked at
plus me.
we looked at the budget request in the current budget, the number of employees hasn't changed.
Right.
The only thing that's changed is the amount per employee for health insurance.
Yes.
So it should be 30 times the amount that's appropriated per employee.
And
Should
that-
be the number that goes into your account is 52500 line
207.
207.
Uh-huh.
So if
And
you-
that's 8820 from the information we received.
right. So that times 30 should be the amount that goes in there. And that would be consistent with the budget we're currently in right now, the number of employees.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Is that correct, Mayor? Sure.
Please.
So 30 times 820.
And that would be 264.6.
It would be 277.80 with the new rate that we're proposing. The one question I have though is we've also got money in the retirement line. So I'm wondering, should we budget 29 plus the one in retirement? Is there someone already retired? But you've got
The
one-
retiree insurance, is probably, I think I would be the only.
You're the one that meets it. So if we're counting you, if we're counting you in the insurance line, we wouldn't need to count you in the retirement line, is what I'm getting at. So I think,
Well, and it's all, now that it's also the same in the life insurance line. It has 27 employees.
I was gonna say that too, that line would be wrong also.
Yeah.
But do you agree if we zeroed out the retirement one and counted you in the insurance line as one of 30, right?
That's
You're
when
one of
it's
30. Then the 243,702 needs to become 277,80. And the 9027 needs to go to zero. Does that make sense to you, Donna?
You could,
I think we zero your retirement line and we put all 30 of you in the insurance line.
okay,
And the rate that we're using, she uses 8,800 or whatever at budget request time, but now we're budgeting a different figure with the assumption of what next year's insurance will be. So using that new rate times 30 would give you 270. Instead of 243,702, it goes to 270. That insures all 30 people, and then the 9027 we zero it out. Does that make sense?
that's fine.
And then the 567, I didn't bring my calculator, so I'm having to use this crazy telephone, and it keeps going back to zero on me. Sorry. The 567 would be 30 times 21, so 567 needs to be 630.
Okay.
Right. And those 27s in parentheses need to be changed to 30.
That's right.
Does that all that makes sense? But you're agreeing with it, right, Donna?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, the 9027 goes to zero, the 567 goes to 630, and the 243,702 goes to 277.80. And the main thing, Caleb, you got all three changes, right? So he'll plug that in. You don't have your computer with you, and that'll give you a new total down there, and then that will change your page 7 somewhat also. But you don't need to vote on that. I'll have those changes made on that page and slide it in your book that you got today, okay? We'll treat that as a correction is what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don.
And for the record, I like looking at y'all better from down here than up here.
Thank you. All right. Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to discuss their budget? Going back, anything else, Commissioner Blake?
No, Mr. Chairman, I believe that's the end of the appeal process. Next step after appeals is the vote on the budget, the 4 resolutions that we adopt on June 28th, correct me, Mayor? Well, the mayor has to do some newspaper stuff, but other than that, for us, it's voting into this budget on the last day of June.
That's great. That completes the agenda items. We'll now move to communication from the audience. I'll recognize and allow 5 minutes to anyone that wishes to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Yes. While Dan's coming up, I'd like to welcome the Director of Schools. I'm sorry I didn't pick it up sooner. Go ahead, sir.
Hope everyone's doing well. Just a couple things. You guys must have done a pretty good job on the budget, because that's one of the shortest appeals things I've ever seen. So, does anyone here know what OSINT is? That's open source intelligence. In other words, it's readily available through research in open documents. I've got something that I'm going to send to you. I'll send it to Lawyer and allow her to forward this to you. I think you'll find it very interesting. And this is an individual who's involved in some of the groups that we're involved in that accessed a online training meeting for a Marxist group that is, that they don't call themselves that, of course, but they're calling this the Summer of Heat. And we waited just a little bit because the way this thing came out, but I recommend you watch this. You may, the person leading the conversation, you may find some things in there a little bit rough, but you need to follow through, especially when you get the individuals who are running the meeting and planning the meeting, okay, and putting this together. We have seen that this is absolutely true, because one of the events happened Saturday in Washington, D.C. as part of this situation. And although there's not anything that understand this is the main plan, but there's also extensions of that plan also. So, and I guess my concern is that, I don't know, I'm sure y'all remember 4 years ago in the situation that had with the challenging of private property and the bringing in of Marxists, and and trying to force the community to adhere to what they believe the community should adhere to, and that includes BLM and Antifa and all that clown show that was here. And so this is a possibility that this will reappear, because this is part of an affiliation of this same group. You don't have to take my word for it, but once you watch this, I think you'll recognize that these people did not know that they were being that the meeting had been infiltrated. So you need to watch it. You notice, and there's a typical sort of a communist slant to this whole thing, because everything that they say, is perpetrated on anyone that is an objection to their being exposed as a racist, which, racism is a communist term, implemented by Trotsky to shut down conversation. So anymore, racist doesn't really mean anything. It's just a term used to try to quell dissent and any objection to whatever that organization is perpetrating, and generally the person using the term. The other problem is that on top of that, we also have this illegal alien, criminal alien invasion, that's transpiring, and these things are showing up on top of this. So now you have a kind of a magnitude forward sort of problem, and I think that it needs to be aware of it. I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send it to Lori and allow Lori to transfer this to you, and you guys do what you want with it. I'm going to make this available. I think it's pretty eye-opening when you see what's going on, especially if you're in law enforcement. This should be eye-opening. I don't know what you guys know about all this, but it's something that we need to be aware of, and you also need to see where these planned cities are, so that if you're going somewhere, you don't want to be there when this thing is going on. Go say, they use nice soft names for it, but it's anything but that, So anyway, and this is coming, and you can do a little research on what happened in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, and that was the first event of this group of events. So anyway, I thought I'd give that to you and let you know, and so you can be informed. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak from the audience? If not, the announcements. Next meeting, voting session Monday, June the 17th at 12 p.m. here at the courthouse. Upcoming events, Chamber Coffee tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Crown Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Board of Education work session, June the 13th at 2 p.m. Central Office. Board of Education meeting, June the 13th, 5 p.m. at the Central Office. Friday Festival, June the 14th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. First Street Square. Farmers on First, June the 16th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. First Street Square. We are adjourned.